Welcome to In Pursuit 360, and today we are going to be answering some questions that I've gotten from some subscribers regarding what questions or what statements, how do I close out an interview? So what are some questions I can ask, and maybe what are some statements that I can make at the close of an interview to show interest? So that's what we're going to talk about today, so let's get into it. All right, and here we go. So subscribers have been asking, what questions can I ask at the end of an interview, or what can I say at the end of an interview in order to appear more interested, or to show my interest, or to maybe leave an impact, if you will, right? So let's talk about that. But first, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Thumbs up if you like the video, thumbs down if you have to, but as always, in the comments below, please tell me what it is that I can do better for you. And please leave the politics out of it. I don't want to hear about the thin blue line flag, okay? Whatever. It's just not politics. This is all about trying to get a job in law enforcement to serve the community. Okay? All right. So that being done, thumbs up, thumbs down if you have to. Leave a comment. Let me know why. What can I do better for you? And then don't forget, if you hit that little bell notification, it'll tell you when the next video is coming up. So questions you can ask at the end of an interview. And yes, I do have some notes. I've written them down. So I will be glancing down every now and then to make sure that I read off these questions for you. And then we'll get into the whys and what fors and what we're kind of looking for by asking this question. So, closing questions. In other words, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming out today. Do you have any questions for us? Question 1. Can you tell me more about the agency's approach to community policing? Now, why would that be important, or why would that make you stand out? Well, community policing, of course, is that relationship between the law enforcement agency and the community, and how they interact with the citizens within the community and work as a team to make things better, whether it be reduce speeding, or to reduce crime, or to stop muggings, or whatever, right? It's the people in the community that want to make a difference, getting with the law enforcement officers, and everybody kind of working together to make things better, right? It's kind of like back to that street beat cop. Not in the car, not in the cruiser, right? Driving around all the time, just out on foot, walking around, talking to people, getting to know their neighbors, and using that connection to make things better within the community. So asking that question, what is the agency's policy on community policing, kind of shows that you're interested in building that relationship with the community, right? So, I mean, and if you want to get into law enforcement, the whole idea, of course, yes, you want to enforce the laws and that kind of stuff, but you want to make the community safer. You want to make the community better for the people in it. So community policing and the agency's outlook on community policing is going to be very important in you being able to accomplish that goal. Okay? So that's one question that you can ask near the end. Another one is, what ongoing training and professional development opportunities are available for officers with your agency? So in other words, hey, yeah, I want to be a police officer, but I may want to do other things. What is it that you're providing to your officers to help them develop and become better, and maybe reach other goals they may have within the department? So, of course, that absolutely shows enthusiasm. It shows your interest to be there for a while, right? It's a longevity thing, because if you're really joining a department only to get certified so that you can move on to a better department, you wouldn't ask a question like this, right? You really just kind of don't care, because you're not going to stay there anyway. So by asking this question, it kind of tells them, hey, what is your plan for my development? Because as I come on board here and get certified and start working the street, I want to move up. Maybe I want to be bike patrol. Maybe I want to join into motors or traffic, or maybe I want to join the SWAT team. What programs or training do you have in place that are going to help prepare me for the goals that I have? So what is your plan? Do you have anything in place already for development for officers? Maybe I want to be a supervisor someday. Do you have leadership classes or training that's within the area, or maybe at the academy that you send officers to that are interested? So ask that question. What do you have that's going to help officers develop professionally, available to them all the time, right? All right. So let's get on to another one. How does the agency support the well-being and mental health of officers? So, well-being and mental health. So some departments provide a gym, and believe it or not, physical fitness isn't just about physical fitness, it's also mental fitness. The more physically in shape you are, the more you're able to handle stress, right? Because you build up your body, you build up endurance, you build up strength, you build up all these things where when you get into a stressful situation, at least if you're fit, then your body's able to handle the chemicals that are released into it under stressful situations. It is the officers that tend to be not so in shape, introduced into a stressful situation, that end up having physical health issues, right? Sometimes you hear about some of these officers that end up in foot pursuits and they end up having heart attacks. A lot of time, it's a stressful thing, right? Getting into a foot pursuit. There are times when some of these officers are not exactly in shape. And that's it. I mean, it's that chemical dump, it's the physical activity, all that happening at once that can end up having this negative effect on your health. So, what does the department provide in order to assist you with your well-being or your mental health? Another thing they may encourage, they may have, like a lot of departments or sheriff's office or whatever have chaplains that are available. They're not just there for ceremony, right? Everybody, stand up for the benediction. The department chaplain's going to give a prayer. Yeah, they do that too, but they're also there to talk to. So if there's a department chaplain, or at least a regional, some departments don't necessarily have their own chaplain, but like the department I went to originally, I don't know if they have one now or not. They've gotten quite a bit bigger, but we had a regional chaplain, right? He worked out of the regional police academy, and he was always available if you needed him. It's a big stigma in law enforcement about going and asking for help. I'd like to say it's gotten better. Maybe in some places it has, but overall, there's still kind of that stigma. So you need to know that there's somebody that you can reach out to talk to. So what does the department provide for you for that? Do they have a chaplain you can go speak to? Does the county or city offer like an EAP service? Like federal government has EAP, local governments and stuff have their own version, employee assistance program, where it's kind of like free initial counseling, or a counselor that you can go talk to in confidence, that can help you decide, like, do you need further help? Do you need to go see somebody else? And these things are supposed to be completely confidential. Now, the only way that they're not confidential is they feel like you may end up hurting somebody or yourself. Then they have an obligation to report it. But usually the things that you run into in law enforcement are like stress-induced, things that you see on the street, calls that you responded to, and you may need some help in dealing with that. And I would highly recommend that if that be the case, go get it. So ask, what does the department provide to help with those things? Okay, so those are just a few questions, and there are some more, but I can't let them all go in one video, right? But what I can, so now let's talk about some statements that you may make. So now you've asked your questions, what do you have in place? What's your theory on community policing, or, how do you practice that? And after they answer and everything, how about a statement, something like, just express some gratitude, right? Thank the interviewers for taking the time to meet with you and considering you for the position. A simple thank you for the opportunity for the interview can go a long way, right? Just, hey, I really appreciate the opportunity and bringing me in to talk to me. I've learned a lot, and I hope you've learned a lot from me. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you is a very powerful word. It's lost a lot in our society these days. I can't help going through a drive-thru sometimes and losing my mind. When I place an order, I give them the card, and they just give me my card and my receipt back, or they just hand me my drink and ignore me. Like, I'm the customer. And sometimes even I'll say, hand me a card back. I'm like, thank you. And they don't say anything. Thank you goes a long way. Where did we lose our politeness, right? And think about it. When you're working the street, when you make it and you're out there working the road, thank you goes a long way. Politeness goes a long way. The way you treat people is important. So when you take the time to actually express gratitude and say thank you, they're sitting there thinking, maybe that'll translate onto the road because they want officers that are going to treat people with respect. Okay? All right. So let's get on to another one. When you're all done with all your questions and all that, and they're done answering, how about doing a real quick review? Well, I really just want to take a second and then go over your strengths again. Reinforce some of the skills and the qualities that you possess that align with the department's values and missions. For example, you can say, I believe my commitment to community-oriented policing and my dedication to public service make me a strong fit for the agency. I wouldn't say it exactly like that, right? Don't go and rehearse this. I had a chance to sit down and really think this out and type it up, and it sounds really good, but it also sounds kind of corny. So maybe after the questions are done and stuff like that, then you just take the time and say, I would like to, thank you again for the interview, and just to kind of reiterate, if I may, that I think that my communication skills would make me a great asset out on the street, dealing with the communities and trying to build that relationship. And I know that my past experience in customer service, in dealing with various types of people, definitely a diverse group of people in different situations, stressful and not stressful, would make me a great fit for taking the department or agency in a direction that I know you're trying to head in with your community policing program. Something like that, right? So I'm not trying to give you an answer. Don't sit there and write all this down and memorize it and say, this is my answer. Because if you don't believe it, if this isn't you, it won't fit. What I'm trying to do, remember, please, in giving you these ideas and these questions and theories on how to answer, really is, I'm trying to show you what they're looking for. I'm trying to show you what to expect. Slight interruption in the video, apologize for that. So again, as I was saying, the idea is to make sure that you understand the theories of how to answer these questions. You need to sit back and say, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? How do I address those? And understand what they're looking for so that you can tailor your personality and who you are and what your experiences are, and tailor them to what's coming. So the idea is that I just give you the theories and ideas behind what they're looking for, right? Or maybe what you might want to kind of gear things towards, and how to highlight what you already do or know or think or feel, right? I'm just trying to help you bring that out. I'm not trying to tell you what to say or what to do or whatever. Okay, so anyway, a final parting question for you, or a comment, is something to really think about. A lot of times during interviews, depending on how many you've done, you recognize this, you'll be answering a question or whatever, and as you go through, you're like going, oh man, you're thinking to yourself while they're talking, unfortunately, which is not a good idea because you really need to hear what they're saying, right? But you'll think, man, I wish I would have said that. Oh man, I wish I would have said that. Or sometimes when you ask your first follow-up question, like, what is the agency's policy or outlook on community policing? And while they're telling you, you're like going, they'll say something that triggers something like, man, I should have said this on that question. So when they're done answering, they'll say, is there anything else? Nothing says that you can't say, if you don't mind, in reference to the earlier question that you asked me about what my greatest weakness was, I would like to add, if you don't mind, that blah, 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 right? And tell them what it is. It shows them that you're able to track an idea, that you've gone through this whole process. You're now answering your own questions, and you are constantly being reflective, right? You're aware of what's been said and what's been asked, and you have now caught yourself in knowing that you want to update something that maybe you left out prior. And a lot of times they'll let you say it and they'll put it in there, but it does show them that you're thinking, right? That you have an idea of where you want to go, or that you're tracking and are able to think through and make sure you go back and correct it. Some people are scared to correct it. They don't want to seem like they made a mistake. Go fix it. in law enforcement, when you're out there working the street, or if you're writing a report or something like that, if you notice you've left something out, you've got to fix it, right? So why not start fixing it in the interview? All right, so there you go. That's some questions and some statements that you can make at the end of your interview as you requested. There will be more of these. I have more on my list that I kept reading off of. So there are some other questions and statements you can make, but I'm going to break that up into a couple of interviews. Again, hey, we're at like 4,186 subscribers. And as far as, big YouTube channels go, that's nothing. But for me, I'm quite proud of it. I really appreciate you guys checking in, and I appreciate all the positive feedback that I've gotten. And for those of you that have made it into law enforcement now, awesome job. Good for you. Really, appreciate your comments about, how the videos have helped you. And I hope that this is able to continue for more and more future officers out there. I am going to start getting more into like promotion questions and stuff like that too, and specialty unit questions. And I've got something else that I'm working on with my oldest son. We're trying to put together a program to do interview mentoring, coaching, and resume building and reviewing, but I'll have more on that later. In the meanwhile, hey, if we hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away one of my challenge coins. And it's In Pursuit 360 here. It's got the Motors logo here and the K9 logo here. And then on this side, it's got a Pentagon police badge. And it also has the 4 core beliefs of the Stafford County Sheriff's Office on there. So it's kind of like a mishmash of everything. But of course, I like the In Pursuit side. I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, so when I hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a giveaway, a random giveaway, and I'll pick somebody out that makes the comments. I'll set the criteria out on that later. In the meanwhile, don't forget, subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and of course, watch out for that bell notification. I can't get the bell right. Anyway, the bell notification for the next video. All right. And in the meanwhile, be safe out there.